months ago, I purchased a 20-year-old Land Cruiser. I was in Australia, but the vehicle in South Africa. It's for my own use in Africa when I visit to come and explore. Yet another dreary airport. Wait, I'm in Johannesburg. Just arrived after an 11-hour flight from Perth, and normally when I come to Africa, I've come to do a big trip somewhere amazing and to tell some stories. Not this time. This trip is very different. I'm Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building four-wheel drive trucks and then travelling to the remotest parts of the world. Because every time I come to Africa, before I arrive, I have to arrange for a rental four-wheel drive or a loan four-wheel drive. Up to now, since I left the country in 2013, they've always been rentals. And rentals have their problems, as anybody who has rented a vehicle of any kind know, particularly one that is full of camping equipment and has the potential to be abused, as do rental vehicles, particularly four-wheel drives. So this visit is to find and rebuild a Land Cruiser that I can use for the channel's future productions in Africa. I'm flying into the town of George on the coast, not far from the southern tip of Africa. I've purchased, blind, a Land Cruiser, and I'm on my way to see it for the first time. There's quite a bit at stake here. So here I am. I saw a glimpse of it. Hello, Fani.
Yes.
Very nice to meet you.
Same here.
Nice to meet you.
That's Jacob.
Oh, Jacob, nice to meet you. Ah, there you go.
Little goosebumps.
Eh?
I miss my car.
You're going to miss your car. I'm glad you're going to miss your car, because if you're going to miss your car, it means you've loved your car.
I will have to a lot.
We'll go and have a look. Unlike other 100 series Land Cruisers, the 105 has solid axles front and back, and like the 80 series, manual 5-speed gearbox, full-time four-wheel drive with lockable centre, front and back differentials. No electronics, diesel engine, and this one has done 300,000 kilometres. Well, it's too bad if I didn't like it, eh? See, I paid for it. But they're very rare, so I had to either take it or leave it. So I thought I would take the risk, and she looks good. It actually looks better than the pictures, which is a very nice surprise. Great, I'm a happy man. After a good night's sleep and a drive of about 7 kilometers, first impressions are very positive. Very positive. Feels reasonably tight for 300,000 kilometers. It feels good. The suspension doesn't feel particularly well set up. It has a 3-inch lift, which is a little bit more than I would normally put on this vehicle. The interior looks in better condition than it did on the photographs, but I think that's because the previous owner had it cleaned, and cleaned properly. But let me cut to the chase. What don't I like about it? That's the first thing. It's a bull bar, but it actually is a bull bar from a 79 series that's been adapted. It's not very nice. It's TJM. They don't make a bad bar, but it doesn't look that great. The rock sliders, yeah, quite nice actually. They'd be very slippery to stand on in the wet. But, you know, tyres, Pirelli Scorpions, nah, I don't rate them highly at all for the kind of driving I do. Rear bumpers, actually not bad at all, but I'm going to replace it because I'm going to put in a Gobi X, because the Gobi X is just the best I've ever used, and I've been offered one, so I'm going to change it. It's a lot better than that. And the interior again is really quite Nice. So I'm pretty chuffed this morning. I feel good about this decision and this choice. I like the colour. It's unusual. I'm actually excited about it. And now, of course, I've got to drive it to Cape Town. Now, in Cape Town is where we are going to strip it mechanically and all the mechanical upgrades. And then following that, I'm going to drive all the way to Pretoria, and we're going to turn the inside into a Campertura. Without any proper camera rigs in the car, I actually have to hold the camera while I'm driving. I have 100 kilometers on the clock. I have done that distance in my new cruiser, and I have a big smile on my face. And into fifth. Gearbox is good. All the gears, no clunking, no backlash, no nothing in the gear change feels very good. And what is really surprising me, and I've always known that these cruisers are very well engineered cars. They're good cars. With this mileage on this vehicle, there is no play on the steering. It's absolutely normal. That's remarkable. I think that's pretty exceptional. The ride isn't particularly nice. It's a bit jittery, and it's not terrible. Now, it has Ironman springs, and my experience of Ironman springs is that they're fairly firm. They produce a firm ride. And the shock absorbers are not Ironman. I think they are the TJM shock absorbers. But that's not the problem with the ride. The ride is jittery because I believe its lift is 3 inches, and that's contributing to it. And that perhaps maybe they didn't do sufficient caster correction bushes on it. So it's a little bit sensitive on the steering at speed, and the ride is a bit jittery. I mean, I've owned these vehicles before, and I know how good the ride can be, and yeah, I can get a lot better than this, but it's not terrible. It's just, I'm being picky. The engine is sweet. It's pulling like a 1HZ. It's like what do I say? I think the expression I'm trying to reach for is couldn't blow the froth off a cappuccino. Cracked windscreen. The seller didn't mention that. I'm assuming he forgot, because he did mention quite a few things. That the handbrake doesn't work. He mentioned that. I'll sort that out. There is a clunking in reverse gear. I can feel it. My guess is it's quite serious. I don't think that's going to be an easy fix. That's the sum total of I have no other concerns about this vehicle at all. None at all. It's running nicely so far. It's lovely. It's going to do the job brilliantly. So I'm very happy, very, very excited. Very, very excited. Snyman's four-wheel drive is a Land Cruiser specialist outside of Cape Town. They specialise in doing exactly this, rebuilding old Land Cruisers and bringing them a new life, or even sometimes bringing them back from the dead. Leading this rebuild is my close friend and friend of the channel, Paul Marsh. Paul should be here. Paul!
Andrew!
Good day, mate.
How are you, man? Good to see you,
good.
hey? Back in Africa?
Yeah.
And what a beautiful car.
Hey, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I like the colour.
Nice colour,
I really
eh?
do, yeah. Well, these vehicles are in my heart because the 80 and the 105 are such capable trucks.
Yeah.
And, we've both driven them and we both love them.
Yeah.
And now we've got one to play with.
Well,
It's going to be...
to be honest with you, I don't know if I would have done this if you hadn't been around, because yeah, I know the I know the basics, but I don't know the in-depth.
Well, look, that's what
And
we
you
want.
know these things as deep as you can go.
They are.
So I would be relying on other people to know in depth, as I am now, but I know you know.
I love them. Look, I mean, over the years, you know, I remember being in England, going to a show in England, and filling my stand-up with Land Cruisers
Yes.
at a Land Rover show.
Yes, at a Land Rover
At a
show.
Land Rover show. And, you know, the whole thing at that point in time, the Land Rover is a very capable vehicle. And
Yes.
England didn't have much in the way of overland Land Cruisers.
Yes,
And, you know, I think they both have a place in the market.
yes.
In my heart, I think people used to want to cut me open and say half Land Rover, half Land Cruiser. But my heart really, the Cruisers
But
are really,
you
really
say that,
good
but you
vehicles.
drove a Discovery from London to Cape Town.
I've driven a Discovery
So-
pretty much around the world.
Yeah.
And I've driven Defenders and I've driven Range Rovers.
Yeah.
And they're all good vehicles.
Yeah.
Here in Africa, these do dominate.
Yes.
And in particular, I think the 105 is just, well, we both know you've owned one. I've got an AT.
Yeah.
We've done lots of work on them. They're beautiful vehicles to build up because they're really comfortable and they're really strong. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great, great project. And good to have you back.
No. There are a lot of things that we know now that we must replace. We know it already without even looking at it.
Yeah.
There are other things that we will discover that, and then you will make the decision, yeah, this is the kind of thing we should replace, but we could get away with it.
Yeah.
And there are other things that obviously are broken, bent, about to break, must be replaced. So I'd like to give the people watching the series, if they're doing a build,
Oh, exactly.
to understand what is the negotiable, what is flexible, least flexible.
I think
Water pump, for example.
Exactly. Water pump is a classic example. You know, it's something I put a new one on.
Yes.
And I actually take a good spare. I take a new spare. Because
Okay.
an old one never really works as a spare because they
Right.
dry out and the seals can be damaged.
Yes.
So it's one item that if it fails, you're not going to drive anywhere. So I'm also of the opinion that when you build a truck up, you should be looking at what spares you're going to carry and not carry. Because a lot of
That's-
stuff you've put new, you shouldn't have to carry.
That is precisely the process I want to go through,
Yeah.
to help the viewers understand that mindset. What parts not flexible, what parts, what,
And
you
also-
know what I mean?
But
And
also why we take an older vehicle.
Yes.
Because I think that's for me very important.
Yes.
You know, there's a reason why we take old vehicles when there are brand new vehicles on the market.
Yes,
We're going to invest a lot of money in an old vehicle.
yes,
And there's a reason why we like to do it. You know, for the simplicity, for a lot of, you know, making it more reliable
Yeah.
from the components that are worn.
yeah,
And what, as you say, what do we need to change? Let's pull it apart, let's examine it, let's decide what we're changing and why.
yes.
And then I think we've given a good
I think we can
indication.
share a lot of knowledge.
And we're going to have, well, you're going to take this truck and do some nice trips in it in the future.
Yes.
So it's going to be really good to
Yes.
have. And you're leaving it in Africa.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of this is that I don't want to rely on rental vehicles. I want to have my own vehicle because you know the difference. You know, some of the rental vehicles are great.
Look,
Others
rental,
aren't.
Rental
So I
vehicles
want
have a place in the market.
absolutely, but
But I
I
think-
want my vehicle.
Exactly. And that's what I always say to people. Start off using a rental vehicle, get an idea of what it's about. But once you start to love the passion, the idea of traveling more often, then it's really about having your own vehicle that you can trust is in the condition you know it is, and you can go with confidence into places with the kit that you should have in it.
Yes. Stuff where you like it, the tent that you
Exactly.
prefer,
Yeah.
the this that you prefer,
The little
and it becomes
extras.
yours, and it actually adds a lot to a trip. I think it adds a lot to a
It
trip.
does, absolutely. And especially when you're going to go to remote places.
Yeah.
You know, I think the more remote you go, the more confident you've got to be in your skills and, of course, your
Yes.
vehicle.
Yes.
And what you're taking and what you're not taking and why
Yes.
you're taking those things.
Yes.
So we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to really enjoy this. It's going to be great.